I think it was mainly because I was just trying to check the boxes and I wasn't taking that time to go back and review and say, okay, what don't I know? What don't I fully understand versus what do I understand?
Hmm.
Not doing review of what I've learned. Like I'd say, okay, unit 1, check, done. Unit 2, check, done.
And
And
then
just,
don't look at it again.
yeah, until the end. And that really hurt me in the beginning. And just learning, I think the maybe one of the bigger things too is I was studying for it like it was a college exam. I wasn't
Mhm.
studying for it like it was the CPA exam. They're two very different things, and
Yes.
the way you study is very different for them too.
Welcome to another episode of the CPA Exam Experience Podcast from SuperfastCPA. I'm Logan, and in today's video, you're going to hear me talking with Samantha. I really enjoyed talking to Samantha. She had a lot of really relatable feelings and emotions about the CPA exam and a very relatable story. She started doing the CPA exams a little bit before she started work. She had just finished college not too long ago, and she was trying to do the CPA exams before she started work. And she tried 3 exams, audit, reg, and FAR, and unfortunately, she was taking them in 2024 when the exam release dates were horrible. She had to wait, I think, almost 6 months for her audit score, like 4 months for her reg and FAR scores. And she found out after all that work that she had failed all 3, but she had gotten really close. She had gotten in, 72, 73, maybe 68. And she was just like, what is going wrong? What am I doing wrong here? And luckily, towards the end of her FAR study process, like 2 weeks before she took FAR, she had found the SuperfastCPA podcast, and she listened to that and started trying to change a few things, but didn't really have very much time. And once she found out she failed all of those exams, she went and bought the total SuperfastCPA bundle and changed a lot of her study habits and mainly changed her emphasis. You're going to hear her talk a lot about this in the interview. She changed her emphasis on the multiple choice questions, which is, of course, a big part of what we emphasize at SuperfastCPA. So I think this is going to be a great interview. You'll see how she changed her process, how she changed the way she thought about studying, and she was able to go pass the exams. If I'm not wrong, she passed them all first try after that. If not, then, maybe only missed one, but I'm pretty sure she passed all of them first try. And she just has a great story, a lot of great tips. So you're going to want to listen to this whole interview. Now, before we dive into the interview with Samantha, just a quick reminder, as always, about our Superfast CPA training webinar on superfastcpa.com. It is a 1-hour webinar where we will teach you the key ingredients to passing the CPA exam so you don't waste months or even years of your time failing exams. And then after that, you're going to want to learn more, so make sure you also check out becoming a Superfast CPA Pro member. Pro members get access to a lot of great stuff. They get access to our Pro course where Nate goes super in-depth on how to pass the exams, basically a much more in-depth version of the webinar so that you know how to pass the exams. And they also get access to our multiple choice question walkthrough videos, our full versions, because we have 5-question versions of those multiple choice question walkthrough videos on YouTube, but we have 10-question versions for most of them on our Superfast CPA Pro forum. So if you want a little bit of extra help and a little bit of extra understanding, those are a great resource that you can get by becoming a Superfast CPA Pro member. So again, make sure you check out becoming a Superfast CPA Pro member. Now, with all that said, let's dive into this great interview with Samantha. So thanks for hopping on the call today with me, Samantha. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm enjoying my day.
Oh, good. Are you taking a break from work or something right now?
Yeah, now that busy season's passed, we get half days on Fridays. So
Oh, that's awesome. Hey,
yeah,
that's something, right?
yeah,
To
that's
make
what
up
we
for those
look
busy
forward to.
seasons. So are
Yeah,
you in tax then? Is that
I
right?
am in tax. I started
Okay.
in audit and then I switched over the summer to tax.
Okay. Well, let's just kind of maybe we'll talk a little bit about that, but let's just get into, your story, your journey. So, you were mentioning that you were in audit. Where were you when you were deciding to go for the CPA exam? What were you doing?
Yeah, I kind of knew once I decided I wanted to become an accountant that I would take my CPA exam. And then my college was really like, everyone should take this
Yeah.
exam.
Yeah.
So just from the beginning, I knew I would. And then I was able to start it, thankfully, my senior year before getting into work, but then had to finish it while working.
Okay. Okay. So, and then was that, were you somebody who did kind of like the 150 credit hours instead of getting a master's? Is that right? Or,
Yes, that's correct.
okay,
So I was able to get a bunch of credits in high school, and then I just
nice.
overloaded my courses a little bit during college. I was able to
Yeah.
continue it still in 4 years, but get the
But
100.
150. Yeah, that's smart. Hey, that's a good way to do it for sure. I always wish that I had done a little bit more college classes in high school because I was just like, whatever. But I regretted it later. So you finished school, but then you were working when you started the CPA. So how did you start that? Like, did you get a review course? What did that look like?
Yeah, so through my work, I was actually able to get Becker. And so I was able to use that to study. And yeah, so I was just using Becker every day.
Yeah. And did you just kind of do it the way that Becker told you at the start? What did that look like?
Yeah, I kind of started studying it like I would study for an exam in college, where it was like, okay, I go through the material, I take the practice quizzes, I like do all the check boxes that they have, and then I was like, okay,
And that's
I'm
it.
ready.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. And how did that go? What happened when you went in? Did you go in and
Yeah.
take an exam?
Yeah, so I was actually started my exams in 2024 when it was
Okay.
you get
The
your
horrible
score.
year.
Yeah. So I actually went in and I took audit, and before I got my scores, I had taken reg because I
Okay,
was
because it
like,
was such a long wait.
yeah, because I didn't want to wait 6 months to see what happened. And so then I just went on to reg, took reg. I was almost through studying for FAR when I got my audit score back that I had failed. And I was like, shoot,
Ah,
okay, I got to do something else. And in my head, I was like, I definitely failed reg because I studied for it the same way. Like I felt more confident going in, but I was just like,
mhm,
I felt like I passed or like I failed.
mhm.
And I had scheduled my FAR exam. It was like 2 weeks away. And at that point is when I found the SuperFast podcast.
Okay.
And I was listening to it and I was like, okay, how are all these people studying? What can I do to change? And so for the rest of FAR, I mean, I only had 2 weeks to tell my exam date. And so like I couldn't do a ton to get for it, but I started studying a little bit differently
Mhm.
towards the end. And then I took FAR. And I found out then like 4 months later that I failed both reg and FAR. And I was like, okay, what's
Dang
going on and how do I fix it? And I think the day I got those scores back is when I got, uh, when I purchased the Superfast CPA.
Like the
Yeah.
total bundle?
Yeah. The total bundle. And I watched all the videos. I downloaded the app and I just completely changed because at that point I was restudying for audit. So I was like, okay, I'm
Right.
going to get this one done. I'm going to pass. It's going to happen. And so I started, and that's kind of when it really switched how I was studying.
Okay. So I want to get into that, but let's just kind of talk about
Yes.
what do you think went wrong or what was not effective the first three exams? Like, why do you think you failed?
I think it was mainly because I was just trying to check the boxes and I wasn't taking that time to go back and review and say, okay, what don't I know? What don't I fully understand versus what do I understand?
Mhm.
Not doing review of what I've learned. Like I'd say, okay, unit 1, check, done. Unit 2, check, done.
And
And
then
just,
don't look at it again.
yeah, until the end. And that really hurt me in the beginning. And just learning, I think maybe one of the bigger things too is I was studying for it like it was a college exam. I wasn't
Mhm.
studying for it like it was the CPA exam. They're two very different things, and
Yes.
the way you study is very different for them too.
Yes, that's definitely. So, were you kind of just, and I guess just kind of to flesh that out a little bit, were you studying in the mornings? Were you studying in the evenings? Were you watching the lectures?
Yeah, so I was thankful because I was able to start studying while I was still in college. So I'd get up and I'd study in the morning for like 2 hours, and then I'd go to class and I'd come back and I'd study a little bit more, usually be done by like 5 o'clock at night and have my night still. And I was watching the videos and then they had like the multiple choice that you do with each video.
Right.
And that's kind of what it was, just checking the boxes. And then once I
Hmm.
started working, I had to work around my work schedule. And so I usually study in the morning. I'd get usually 2 hours because I'm very much a morning person. Once 5 o'clock hits, I'm like, I can't do anything right now. And then usually try to get an hour or two after work as well.
Okay. So you naturally kind of gravitated towards studying in the morning already. So that probably clicked with you when we talked about that in the pro course. And I kind of want to get into that. So, you were watching the lectures, you're doing everything that Becker told you to do, failed the three exams, and just curious, what were the scores? Were you like kind of close or were they low?
Yeah, I was close on all of them. Like,
Okay.
I think I was like 73, 72, and then FAR
Oh man.
was like a 68 or something like
Okay. So
that.
yeah, you understood the stuff pretty well. It just
Mhm.
there was just a little bit of something missing.
Yeah.
And actually, just before we get into the full switch, what were you? Because you were mentioning that for those 2 weeks of FAR, you
Yeah.
kind of heard the podcast, and
Mhm.
what did you start trying to change at that point?
Yeah, so I started doing just a lot of the 30 question quizzes that you guys talked about. And then there's the idea of the five question quiz that your guys'
Right.
app has. And I was like, "Oh, I can just do that with Becker." And I'd go
Yeah.
online and do that. You cannot do that from your phone very
It's a
well.
lot
Like,
harder.
yeah, it worked fine with audit, but like studying for FAR with that, I was like, that's not the move to do that.
Yeah, because they're full force questions,
Yeah.
which that's why they're good for the morning. But when you're on the go, it
Yep.
makes it very difficult.
Very different.
So you kind of started implementing the re-review. Basically, you started
Yes.
kind of trying to add that, but a few months later, you find out you failed
Uh-huh.
all three. So at that point, you purchased Superfast CPA, and what changed at that point? What I kind of want to know, what did you
Yeah.
revamp everything?
A little bit. It was more, I added a lot of the 30 question quizzes and really emphasizing those multiple choice and
Hmm.
learning the why behind the simulations. I remember I watched the multiple choice video of like, okay, how did you study for this? How do you actually review and look? Because I'd take the quiz and then I wouldn't fully dive into why was this
Hmm.
wrong and what is the right answer and why.
Yeah.
And so after watching that, I was like, okay, I really need to emphasize that and emphasize understanding the multiple choice questions more. So that's what's changed on the studying side of it. And I watched less videos. When I felt like I understood a topic, I was like, okay, let's check
Yeah.
out these multiple choice more, like focused on that more.
Mm.
And then the biggest thing that changed is those 5 question quizzes. Cause I could be at work and I'd be like, okay, I am going to take 2 minutes. I'm just going to go on my phone and take these 5 questions. And that really helped me understand because I felt like those questions are more conceptual. It's not,
Hmm.
can you solve the problem? It's, do you know what you're studying? And so I was able to take those quizzes and then be like, okay, this is what I need to focus on because this is what I keep missing. So then in my morning sessions, I'd be like, okay, let's go back and figure out what I'm not understanding.
Right. And yeah, we do purposefully build those questions as best we can to where it's something that you pick up, you do it, and you're more just kind of reinforcing something really quickly. The calculations are simple too. So you were doing the quizzes. Did you also implement the review notes and the audio notes?
Yeah. So at work, when you're doing audits and tax, like it's fun. But then I'd also on top of that have the audio playing in my brain. And I knew like I wouldn't pick up 100% of what was being read
Mhm.
to me. But like every so often I'd be like, oh, wait, I need to know more about that. And I'd pause and be like, okay, let's listen to that. Or like I'd get up and I'd go fill up my water and I'd be listening to that. And then I can focus more
Right.
on what was being said. So just kind of hearing the same stuff over and over again. And then same thing in the
Yeah.
car, I'd always play the audios.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, that's exact, and that's impressive that you could listen to them at work. I struggled to listen to the audio notes at work just because I like couldn't focus on work if I was listening to the audio notes. But and you were doing audit at the time, is that right?
Yes. And it really, the audio notes would be like, depending on what I'm working on, because some things are a little more mindless
Yes.
you can do and listen. But yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh,
And so I kind of want to, maybe you talked about it a little bit, but what did your morning study sessions look like? Did you go straight into the questions? I just kind of want to know your process in the mornings.
after purchasing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So I would get up and usually each day I was like, okay, I need to get through this section or these sections, depending on the day and how much time I had, how long the sections were. I'd usually start by watching the videos in the morning and then do a section of like 30 questions, multiple choice, and 2 to 3 simulations, depending on the section and how much
Okay.
conceptual they had. I'd also, every morning or every other morning, I also tried to get a 30 question set in of multiple choice, just really focusing on that and doing that for, say, I'm in unit 2, then I'm focusing, okay, let's do 30 questions from unit 2 and just
Okay.
see. And some of them, like, especially when you're just starting, it's like, okay, I haven't learned this stuff, but
Yeah.
let's get a little bit so I kind of understand it for when the videos do come up.
Right. Okay. So would you do cumulative for all of the unit, even if you hadn't reached it yet? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or okay.
Yeah.
And what difference did you start seeing? Because you switched it up,
Yeah.
and did you feel different about studying?
I felt so much better. It definitely is really hard when you're doing the cumulative stuff and getting like 20-30%, but then you start seeing it go up and up and up the more you do it. And I got to the point before my exams where for some of those exams I was getting 100% on these multiple choice questions.
Awesome.
And for some of them too, like especially audit and TCP, I got to the point where I'd seen all the questions and I saw the question pop up and I was like, I know this answer because I've seen this before. And I did have to change my mindset of, okay, why is this the right answer? Like, I know this is right, but why is it right? Which I think also really helped me just conceptually understand what's going on, because you're not necessarily going to see the same exact question on the exam.
Exactly. Yeah. That actually what you just talked about right there. Maybe you've heard me talk about this. In my opinion, there's two kinds of memorization for the exam when you're studying. There's what you were just talking about, where you've seen it so many times, you just know that's the answer without having to think about it. But that hurts you because you don't actually know the concept. And so you're not going to see that question on the exam day, and then you're not going to understand it. And then there's the good memorization, or however you want to say it, where you've seen it so many times that you understand the concept to the point where no matter how you see it, you know how to do it. And it sounds like that was a big switch for you. Is that right?
Yes. Just focusing on how to actually
Yeah.
solve the problem.
Why is this the actual answer? Yeah, that makes sense. So what happened? So you started studying for audit. Did you pass? How did that go?
Yeah. So then I passed the next 4 all in a row once I started.
That's awesome.
Yep. So
That's awesome.
I was able to get audit, tax, and reg passed before busy season hit. And then busy season hit and I still had FAR, but I knew I was like, I can't stop studying, because if I stop studying, I'm going to struggle to start again. So even through busy season, like I was doing 30 minutes to an hour a day, but still just doing more review questions, multiple choice question type stuff.
So you passed, and you said you took TCP, is that right? For your discipline? Okay.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit better towards the end of the year with the release dates. But did you still have to wait like a couple months or something like that sometimes?
Yeah, I try to think. Yeah, I think I still had to wait like a month or 2 for most of them.
Yeah. And what were your scores? Do you remember your scores for each of them?
Let's see. So audit was like a 78, and then I passed TCP with an 86, reg with a 76, 78, something like that. And then FAR, I got a 75. So I studied the perfect amount.
Yes, hey, and you did it during busy season too. That's awesome. So just a total switch around, you studied actually, quick question. How long did you study before you had SuperFast CPA for each exam? And then how long did you study when you did have SuperFast CPA?
In total, or
like per exam, how many weeks, kind of a thing?
Oh, okay. Well, before I didn't have schools, or I just had school.
You didn't
I
have work, right?
Yeah. So I was taking that like every 2 months, and then once I started working, it was still about every 2 months, but I was studying less because of SuperFast CPA. I just was doing more of the multiple choice and like less on Becker, more through the app, more multiple choice type of a thing.
Okay. So still roughly about 8 weeks usually.
Yes.
Is that about right?
Yes.
Okay. And then for FAR, did you still do it in 8 weeks, or did you kind of expand it because you were in busy season?
That one was, I think I studied for 5 months, but the busy season, it was more of a, let's maintain this studying.
Yeah, maintain the habit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I wasn't learning a ton during busy season, just more trying to maintain.
Survive.
Yeah. Yep.
And was that an audit busy season, or had you switched to tax?
So I was actually doing both.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't 100% sure if I wanted to do audit or tax. And so my firm was amazing and they let me do a little bit of both.
That's nice.
And so when I slowed down on one, I was like, okay, I'll go help this other side.
So you were always busy for a while there. Is that
Yeah.
kind of accurate?
Yes.
So if you could kind of summarize based on what we've talked about so far, what were the major benefits that you saw when you did start using SuperFast CPA?
The most beneficial was the 5-question quizzes. That saved my life. That helped me understand conceptually what I was doing versus just trying to solve the problem that Becker throws at you. And I just feel like that really helped me understand the concept more of what I was learning.
That's awesome. And how many of those were you? I mean, you said you would take a break for like 2 minutes and do one. How many of those would you do a day, maybe?
I tried, so I'd set a reminder on my calendar to do at least one every hour. And then I think someone on one of the other videos mentioned they deleted all social media from their phone. And I don't know if it was the same person, said every time they turn on their phone, they had to do that. So I did something like that where I removed the social media from my home screen so it wasn't the first thing I saw. And I put super fast, like right in the center where I would always see it.
Okay.
And whenever I turned on my phone, I said, okay, before I can do anything, I have to do a 5-question quiz. So if I wanted to go scroll on social media, I have to do a 5-question quiz first. If I wanted to text my friend randomly, I had to do a 5-question quiz first. And so it kind of varied day to day how much I would actually do that or do the quizzes, but it just helped me get a lot of them in.
Yeah, you kind of changed the focus of your phone from maybe entertainment to more this is a tool. And so I'm just curious, did you like take everything else off the front screen and just have that right in the middle, or not quite like that?
Not quite like that. Just all my social media that I have, I put that off and then put that down right by my phone and the texting app, like right at the bottom of your screen.
Like on the bar. Were you on an iPhone, I'm guessing?
Yes, iPhone.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
I love, I mean, I personally, I don't like social media, but especially when it comes to specifically studying for the CPA exam, I really strongly recommend what you were saying, like have some way of just not using social media either at all, or make it much more difficult to use, because that's kind of like a big premise behind SuperFast CPA that Nate really wanted to push was if you're looking at your phone all the time, why not turn that into study time? Because that makes it so that you have an extra 2 hours of studying or something every day. Were you also reading the review notes on your phone, or maybe not quite like that?
Not quite. I don't learn the best when I'm reading material, because sometimes I'll be reading and like forget that I'm reading. Out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I would usually play the audio.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you ever use the follow along notes, or mainly just the audio?
Sometimes, but usually just the audio. I'd listen to it while I drive or stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah. So mini quizzes were a big help. You listened to audio notes quite a bit, and then you were studying in the mornings. You said that you did re-review almost every day. What did you do for topics that you really were struggling with? Like, how did you do notes? How did you do flashcards?
So I ended up using ChatGPT a lot, actually. And I'd say, okay, this is a topic I don't understand. Please explain it to me like I'm a 3rd grader. And it would explain it so well using easy examples. And then eventually you can say, okay, I understand that. Give me some practice. Okay, help me with these specific areas within that. Oh, can you explain that a little bit more? And it just gives you answers so easily.
Yeah. And so was that ChatGPT or was that Newt? Because I know that Becker has their own AI.
Yeah, that was ChatGPT because it was before they had Newt.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yep. And so I actually kind of want to talk to you about this because I'm willing to change my mind, but I'm of the opinion that you got to be careful with using AI when you're learning, because I always come back to this. That I remember watching a video. I was helping somebody in the coaching program where I watched them ask Newt about, help me learn about this. And Newt gave them like a ton of extra information. And then they learned the complete wrong thing from the question. And I went back to the question. I was like, that's not even what this question is about. And, that maybe was an extreme example, but I always recommend being careful because I want people to learn it themselves. I want them to understand it. So maybe could you talk about why that was so helpful for you to so that other people can maybe know a good way to use it?
Yeah, so I didn't use that as like my primary source of learning. It was more, okay, I keep missing this question and I can't figure
Okay.
it out. And the videos I'm seeing, the text I'm reading, it just isn't making sense. And I need it broken down a little bit more. And so the topics and questions I was asking, it was very specific of, okay, this is a question I missed. Why is it wrong? How do I understand this specific topic a
Okay.
little bit more? And understanding like the answer I needed to get to, just not understanding how I got there type of a
Right. No,
yeah.
and that actually that makes a lot of sense. Like, and I think that is probably more what I would lean towards when
Mhm.
using AI. Like, it's not your main teacher where it's like simplify every single question I ever see so that I
Yeah.
can like, because you need to be able to read through a question and understand it. Like, that's a skill that you need. But
Mhm.
I like that you were saying that for topics that you're like, okay, I just keep missing this.
Mhm.
I don't understand it no matter how hard I try. That's when you were kind of using the AI. Is that right?
Yes, that is.
Okay. Okay. And did you ever use that to help yourself make flashcards, or did you ever, because I was kind of asking about notes and flashcards, but
Yeah.
did you ever really do that?
So I had to write down notes, but I'm not okay, maybe it's just I don't fully know the right way to do flashcards, but my brain just when I do flashcards doesn't really help me.
Mhm,
So I focus more on the multiple choice side of it and then
mhm.
taking notes from that, taking a few notes from the lectures just to have that the whatever the science is behind actually writing something down. So
Yeah.
like I'd have that, but yeah, I was really bad about actually going
Oh,
through those notes.
yeah. And I actually, uh, from all the people that I've worked with and when I was doing it myself, I think there's something to be said for just taking the notes. Even if
Yes.
you don't review them very much, the action of writing it down and having to put it in your own words really solidifies things.
Mhm.
So are you saying that you would write them down physically?
Yes, I'd
Okay.
pen to paper write it down so that I could
Right.
have that. And then if there were things, it's like, okay, again, another topic I can't figure out, I'll write that down a lot more and kind of rewrite
Mhm.
it, right in depth. What am I researching? What I'm, or like figuring out from looking deeper into the topic.
Okay, so maybe walk us through that just a little bit. So let's say, you had a topic that you're really struggling with, maybe you use ChatGPT a little bit.
Mhm.
What would you do? Did you have like a specific process for how you would work through it when you wrote it down, or was it more just writing definitions? Like, how did that look?
Yeah, a little bit of definitions, a little bit of, okay, this is, I'm trying to think of an example.
I mean, like, would you walk through an example on paper, like doing the
Yeah.
calculations, or
Yeah,
yeah,
especially with calculations, just writing out, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is, I can't think of an
leases,
example right
something to
now,
do with
but
a
yeah.
lease or something like
Yeah,
that,
like this is the lease, this is the right of use asset, like whatever it
hmm
is. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. And did that seem to kind of help solidify things in your mind?
a little bit. Yes, it
Yeah.
helped. Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, the
But
writing the
the
stuff
most
and
thing was
yeah,
MCQs. That was like the
yes.
biggest thing. So you kind of already talked about this. So, maybe there might not be anything new, but when you were working through the multiple choice questions, what did you do when you ran into a topic that you just didn't really understand? Did you like stay in the multiple choice question until it made sense, or did you try to go somewhere else?
Yeah, so usually I try to watch some of them have the videos that you can watch of,
Yeah,
okay,
like
how do
skill
you get to
builder.
the
Is
right
that right?
yeah. So I do that. If it was a specific topic I was struggling with, I'd go back and narrow it down as much as I could to that topic from
Mhm.
like unit A to
Yeah,
what
whatever it
yeah,
was. Yeah.
whatever those things are. And try to see how I'm doing with other questions related to that.
Okay.
And then if I was still struggling so much, that's when I would go to ChatGPT and
Okay.
dive a little bit deeper.
Okay. Uh, and then kind of along the same lines, we haven't talked about it very much yet. What was your strategy with the Sims? How did you learn and prepare for those?
Yeah, that was a challenge to figure out how to learn those.
Yeah.
um, I would do the sim and then I'd watch the learning video associated with it of how did they solve this? Because and I just always go through them, so eventually I
hmm
kind of had them memorized. But the understanding how this is solved. And I remember listening to podcasts of you have to know how you solve a sim because the odds of you getting a sim even remotely close to the ones you practiced are so low that you have to understand how to read the question and how to determine what they're looking for in their answer. And so I would watch those learning videos after solving it to see, okay, how did they break down how to solve this? How did they figure out what the exam is looking for?
Right. And yeah, that's exactly right. Like Sims are so different than multiple choice questions. A lot of times people compare it to a whole bunch of multiple choice questions kind of mashed together. And that is true, but there's also just this skill of being able to kind of immerse yourself in that specific sim and figure out what the heck it's even talking about. Because a lot of times Sims will have completely irrelevant information that you have to know how to sift through. So is that something that you felt like you kind of learned and as you practiced?
Yeah, and just how to easily say this is the wrong answer. And I know it
Yeah,
because of this word.
right.
Like,
Yeah, kind of understanding, just by how they're talking about something, what they're actually looking for.
yeah.
That makes sense. And you said that you were studying Sims kind of every day, so you didn't really
Yeah.
study them extra on the weekends. Is that right?
Right. I definitely on the weekends focused more on the review side of, okay, everything I've learned, we're going to do a review of everything from
Yeah.
start to end. And every day I had a little checkbox because I like to make lists, and checking things off
You're an
just,
accountant.
yeah, makes it easier to get done and makes you feel
Mhm.
better. And so I'd say, okay, each day I need to do 30 questions from the unit I'm doing, 30 questions from all the units I've done, and depending on the day, 2 to 3 simulations.
Mhm.
And then
Okay.
also one to three simulations of what I'm doing as well. So like I had
Okay.
that checkbox of these are the things I need to do. And so I kind of did that just throughout the whole week so that it wasn't always on the weekends that I'm
Right.
diving. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and with that, was that all happening within 2 hours, or were you doing 2 hours and then were you still studying a little bit after work like you did before?
Yeah, so I would do usually 2 hours in the morning focusing on my current units. And then sometimes I'd need a brain break during the day. So I'd
Mhm.
take like 15 to 30 minutes and do some kind of studying. And then after work, I'd do another 30 minutes, maybe an hour,
Okay.
depending on how I was feeling.
Okay. And this is something that I don't always ask, but I'm kind of thinking about it right now. I mean, outside of busy season,
Yeah.
were you still able to kind of have a life? Like, were you still to do stuff with friends? What did that look like?
Yeah. So I'm a morning person. So
Right.
I would get up at crazy times, but I would get up at 4:30 so I can get to the gym, get a workout in. Then I'd study, go to work, come home, and I'd still have like 2 or 3 hours at night to do
Hmm.
what I want, whether that was seeing a friend, whether that was relaxing on the couch or going on a walk, like whatever that is. So I was still able to have that good balance. And then over the weekends, I'd be done studying by like noon. So then I'd have the whole afternoon to myself to do what I want.
Perfect. Yeah, and what you just said right there. That's exactly what we hope people. That's kind of the whole idea. Get that stuff done in the morning. I mean, yeah, you're definitely a morning person.
Yep.
I've become a morning person, but 4:30, that's pretty. I mean, I
Yeah.
wake up at 5:15, but man, anything below 5 for some reason just feels so
Yeah.
early. Do you still do that, or have you
I
kind of toned it
do.
back a little bit? Okay.
Yeah, I do because then I can get to work by like 7 and get done a little earlier, or during busy season, get more hours in and be done earlier.
Yes, yes. I mean, I fully like that's what I do too. I work at 7 every day because
Yeah.
I'm done by like the afternoon and can
Yeah.
actually do stuff. So
Yeah.
I totally I agree with that
Yeah.
with doing stuff like that. Um, but that's awesome. So did anybody like did you have to miss very many things throughout? Like, were you still able to kind of do family stuff and friend stuff?
Yeah, I made it a priority to still see friends and family and be able to go to all the things.
Hmm.
And if that meant, hey guys, I got to get up an hour or two early and I'm just going to study, or I'm going to miss the first hour of the day and be studying, or
Hmm.
two, or however long it would be, because I knew that that was something that was important to me that I needed to continue to do in order to
Hmm.
survive taking these exams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you made consistency a really big priority. Like, no matter what, I'm going to get this studying in.
Yeah.
Do you have any examples? Like, were there any like weekend trips you went on or any kind of thing that you did where you're like, I'm still going to study?
Yeah. I so like I'd go home and visit my family, and
Hmm.
in the morning they'd all get up and they'd go walk, and I said, "Okay, I'd love to go on the walk, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up an hour before and I'm going to study that hour and the hour while you guys are walking. And then when you get back, I'll hang out with them. And what was nice is I had then throughout the day, I'd use the SuperFast app and be like, okay, I'm going to just get on my phone and do a quick 5-question quiz. No one talk to me real quick. Will I do that?
Hold up. Wait, I'm going to do this.
Hold on. Let me hold up that.
Yeah.
And I think that was really helpful because then I could still, it wasn't the ideal getting a deep dive of studying on the weekend, but having the app, I was able to do the questions and still have that social time that I needed with my friends and family.
Yeah. And there is something really big to be said about that. Like, I think that that's why the CPA exam is such a beast, is because so many people don't study efficiently. And so they lose all that time. They don't get to hang out with friends. They don't get to spend time with their family. They're sacrificing all this time and it's miserable. So would you say that, of course it was hard, but you were able to still kind of feel, I don't know, like feel happy, like still be able to have that social aspect you're saying?
Yeah, there were definitely times that were harder, like especially when the exams get closer, it's like no one can talk to me right now. Yeah. But then I made a priority, like after each exam, I took a week off and I did whatever. Like I think one of the exams I was like, okay, we have spring break coming up. I got to take it before spring break. And then I'm taking through spring break off because I just want to enjoy the time and reset my brain. And then I think we had another one after I took FAR. It was like the next day we left and I was like, okay, I just got to take it before we leave. So
I think that that's a good idea. Like if you have a big trip coming up, it's probably easier to just take the exam before the trip if it's possible. I mean, it's possible to still study when you're on vacation. I've seen some people do it, but easier to not to. So we've talked about a lot of your process. Oh, actually, one quick question. What benefits did you get from the podcast? You've mentioned listening to it a few times. Did you listen to it a ton? Like, did you ever replace it with audio notes? What did that all look like?
Yeah. So initially, when I first found it, I just listened to it a ton. I was like, let's hear all these people. How are they studying? What am I doing wrong? What were they doing that they changed that I could implement into my studying? And then eventually I was like, I just need to get this. And so then once I got it, I stopped listening to the podcast as much and I switched more to audio notes.
Yeah.
But then whenever I felt lack of motivation, I'm like, I just feel like this is never ending. I'm never going to get there. I feel like I keep failing. I am studying all the time. I'm getting nowhere. I'd listen to a podcast episode and I'd be like, okay, this person did it. This person did this with kids. They did it while working. They did it with whatever challenges they faced. They failed. I'm not the only one who is failing because I felt like everyone around me had passed on the first try for all of their exams. I'm like, it's great for you. Good job. I'm proud of you.
Don't talk to me.
Yeah. Just going to go home and cry real quick. But so it felt good to know other people were kind of going through what I was going through and also struggling and that I wasn't alone. And so when I felt a lack of motivation, I was like, it's just never ending. Then I would listen to an episode and be like, okay, I can do it.
Awesome. And were there any, I think you mentioned one, but were there any tips or things like that that you can remember picking up from the podcast?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest one was the getting rid of the social media and doing like every time I turn on my phone, you got to do a question. And then the multiple choice, doing multiple choice over and over and over again and really nailing that. Because I think that's what really helped me was going into exam. I knew I was getting 90 to 100% on multiple choice. And so if I could do that on the exam, I could get a bad score on simulations and be fine.
Yeah, that's definitely a big part of the strategy. Like crush the MCQs and then hopefully that will make up for if you do have any lack in sims, that might hopefully will make up. And it obviously did because, you got in the 70s, which is perfect. Who cares, and you passed the exams. I do have one. I don't think I have too many more questions, but I do have one more. For like on exam day, did you have any strategies for exam day? Any rituals? Anything like that?
Yeah, the biggest thing, I had to get up and get a workout in. I had to get my brain moving and have that time to wake up because I always took the 8 a.m. exam. Like I said, my brain doesn't work as well in the afternoon. And I was just so used to studying in the morning. I was like, I'm going to get up and we're going to study at 8. And then usually I try to do the night before. I would have to get a perfect, I can't remember if I did 20 or 30 question MCQ. And then before I could go to bed, I'd had to do 3 perfect of the 5 question quizzes.
Wow.
And so then I know what I'm doing and know what I'm talking about. And then, yeah, like I said, in the morning I had to work out. I'd get up, I'd eat some kind of food, and then I'd go take the exam. And then after the exam, I rewarded myself with coffee. So I'd go
After
to
the
some
exam.
coffee place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I've ever talked to anybody who actually worked out on the day of. So
Yeah.
it seems like that was something that really helped you throughout your whole process. Like, you don't have to go into detail, but do you do weights? Do you run? Like, what do you do that helps you?
Yeah, I mainly do weights and then I run a little
Okay.
bit, but every morning I would do weights before
Okay.
I went in
Kind
and
of
I'd
get pumped
listen
up.
to, yeah. And half of it I'd listen to the audio notes and half of it I'd listen to music.
Okay. And that was just on
Just
the day
on
of?
day of, yeah.
Okay. And did you like listen to like metal or just your favorite song? So what
Yeah,
did you listen
just
to get
whatever I
pumped
was
up?
listening to that day.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
And did you find that when you were in the exam, it wasn't like, were you able to manage your time pretty well? Like, how did that feel?
Yeah, I've always been kind of a fast test taker, which isn't good, but I mean, I was done with all of them within 2 hours with the exception of FAR. I mean, I think
Wow.
I did TCP in an hour and I left and I cried because I thought I failed. It was
So
so
you're like,
bad.
there's no way I passed with just so
I
wait,
know.
you took all of them in 2 hours out of the
Yes.
4. Wow.
Or
Wow.
yeah, like within 2 hours for each of them. And I
Dang.
remember I left TCP. I called my dad. I said, "Yeah, I failed that. That was so bad." And then I got it back and it was an 86. So I was like,
That was your highest score.
yeah, I was like, I guess I didn't fail. So
Wow, I don't that it's pretty rare to see somebody like do it. So you must have been doing how quickly were you doing the MCQs? Like were you doing those in like a half hour, all of them, or how did that look?
I think it was more the simulations that went fast because
Okay.
my MCQs would be done within an hour.
Okay.
And then, yeah, the simulations just, I do it. I was like, if I go back, because I've learned just from other exams I take, if I go back and read a question, I change it to the wrong answer. The odds of
Yeah.
me changing a right answer or a wrong answer to a right answer is far
Very
less
low.
than, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually definitely a strategy that's like I think it's across pretty much all exam taking where usually if you know what you're doing at least, you know,
Yeah.
if you have no idea then this isn't true, but if you have an idea of what you're doing, your gut is usually right. So
Yeah.
just go with your initial instinct.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that I mean those are all and then you reward yourself with coffee afterwards.
Yeah.
Did you get like a special coffee or did you just get like black coffee or just something basic?
Yeah. Just a special latte. I
Nice.
mean, nothing too crazy, but
Yeah,
something
but
that's
like
not
kind of
homemade.
a nice
Yeah.
tradition afterwards. So yeah, I think that we've hit most of the stuff that I usually like to cover. I guess just the last couple of things that I usually like to ask. The first thing is there anything about your process that you were thinking about before the call and you're like, I would like to talk about this that we haven't gotten to talk about yet?
I think we talked about everything.
Okay,
I mean,
perfect.
the only thing would be I cried after every exam and I cried whenever I got my scores and I would get the score at work. I'm like, I gotta go home real quick to look
Did
at
you
the
live
score.
close by?
Yeah.
Or okay,
Yeah, it was
that
pretty
makes sense.
close. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty emotional. I remember when I got my last score, I was expecting to cry, but I was just like, it's done. Like I
Yep.
just felt like so relieved.
Yep.
And I guess have you done anything to celebrate being done like in the past few months? Anything big?
Besides not having to study, nothing big.
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying my time and having my
Yeah.
time back.
Just work and then life, you know, like
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, being done with school, being done with CPA, it's one of the best feelings. So,
Yep.
that makes sense. So, last question that we always ask everyone, even if it's something we've already talked about throughout this interview, what would be your top 2 or 3 tips to somebody who's still going through these CPA exams?
Get the multiple choice figured out. If you can be so confident in the multiple choice going in, it helps a ton. And especially with some of them, like with multiple choice, sometimes you do see very similar questions worded very similar ways. And that I felt like that helped me a ton during the exam. And then also, if you're using the app, those 5 question quizzes can save your life with understanding what you're doing and just understand the material better too.
So yeah, focus on the questions, everybody. So yeah, I mean, I think that's just about everything. Congrats on being done. Have you gotten your license yet?
I have, yes.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, congrats on being done, being licensed. You don't have to study anymore.
Yep.
And yeah, thanks for being on the call today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, Samantha.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Thanks. All right, that was the interview with Samantha. Again, I really enjoyed her story. I really enjoyed that, she was already a morning person and she was already doing some of the stuff pretty close to what we tell people to do, but it just wasn't quite enough. She was just missing a few of the strategies, and she went from failing 3 exams over the course of multiple months to passing her exams by focusing on the multiple choice questions and learning how to study the sims and a whole bunch of things like that. One of my favorite things that I found really impressive was that she finished every exam in 2 hours or less, which is just crazy to me. I've only talked to a few people who have ever done that, and that's crazy, but she passed them even with 2 hours or less. So it just goes to show, if you really know what you're doing, if you're using the right strategies and you're being efficient, you can go into these exams and totally crush them and be really quick and efficient with them. And that might sound crazy to some people who have struggled with the exams for years, but you really can get good at the multiple choice questions, get good at the sims, and get good at taking these exams. And that's what this SuperFast CPA podcast is for. That's what the SuperFast CPA is about, is helping you learn how to get good at these multiple choice questions, get good at taking the exams. So make sure you check out becoming a pro member. Make sure you check out our free webinar, because we will teach you the key ingredients to passing the CPA exams. Now, if you liked this episode, make sure to like it and leave a comment in the YouTube video, or leave a rating in your favorite podcast app. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in the next one.